So we are back on the 1st of January 2031 with our Helsingborg save, a full month earlier than we normally would, and that is because we are still in the Champions League. We've got 2 more group stage games to play. The problem is we are basically 23rd in the table. Chances are we're not going to win either of them, and then we're going to get knocked out of Europe, but it's fine. We've picked up some coefficient points from the 2 wins that we've had against Feyenoord and Salzburg, and the draw as well against Copenhagen. We've got 2 games to play. I can't even remember who they're up against, but they are certainly not easy games. It is PSG and Nice. Yeah, PSG currently find themselves in 10th. Nice are down in 34th, so we might win one of them, maybe if we're lucky. But something also that we do need to remember is we have lost 2 players because their loans have expired at the end of last season, and we are not able to extend them, which means Julio Cesar Ramirez, who we had on loan from Porto, has returned back to Portugal. 18 goals scored for us in the league. And Christopher Reynald has returned to PSG, the team that we will be playing in Europe. I hope he doesn't play for them. I don't know whether he's even going to be able to be registered in time, I'm not sure, but we're going to jump forward to just after those matches have finished, probably to the 1st of February, to be honest, see how well things have gone, and then obviously the transfer window will begin. So it's now the 1st of February, we have gone forward, we have played the 2 Champions League games, we have lost against PSG, and we have lost against Nice. However, we finished in 24th place because everyone below us must have done really badly, so we've technically managed to get through the group stage. And I don't really know how we've done this. We've been awful. So have Nice. Apparently they've actually leapt up into the playoff spots as well. We have got the better of Atletico Madrid, Valencia, Copenhagen, Frankfurt, Bilbao, Gardens, which is kind of annoying. I would have liked those to go through. But they did pick up 1 win against Young Boys and 3 draws as well. 3 very decent draws. 4 defeats, not ideal. But when you see the teams they lost against, it's kind of understandable, isn't it? Anyway, normal service has now resumed, I guess, for the video, because the transfer window was open, some business has taken place. Alexander Bergen has left, signing for Norrköping on a free transfer. Michael Madsen has also left the club, but he's moved over to Hammarby on a free transfer. Andre Horta has left the club on a free transfer after his contract expired. He's moved back to Portugal. I believe this is Boa Vista, if I'm not mistaken. John Robin Skjellen has left the club, signing up for Mulder on a permanent deal for a bit of money, 215, possibly going up to 275. I would have loved for him to have stayed in Sweden, but basically no Swedish team wanted him. And a similar situation with William Kastrup. He has moved over to Brøndby in his native Denmark as well for £700,000, possibly going to 775. 4 players joining the club then. First up, Alexander Damjanovic Nilsson, who is a Swedish under-21 former international, obviously 28 years of age, played 222 league games over in Norway. He's joined on a free transfer. I think this is a good signing for literally no money. I think we've got ourselves a very good player, and he's also Swedish, which is useful. Another player joining on a free transfer is Edison Kobo, who is a Colombian under-20s international. Joined on a free transfer, I believe it was a free transfer, yeah, after his contract expired. He's definitely going to be going out on loan. He's been brought in, hopefully, to try and bolster up other teams in Sweden. I've not really got high hopes for him, looking like he might be going out on loan already in the first season, so that is good to see. For just under £50,000, we have signed Czech international winger and midfielder Jan Zumbarek, might be his name, from Sparta Prague. He was out of contract, but we had to buy out his contract because technically his contract runs until June time, roughly. So we paid a little bit of money to get him in early, but I think it was sensible. It's not a lot of money, decent left winger option. And one of our more expensive signings is Wilmer Gomez for £1 million. The 20-year-old Colombian under-20 international signed from Independiente Medellin over in his native Colombia has joined the club. Decent one for the future. Might try and loan him out for a season or 2 to hopefully get a bit of game time in him. But I get the suspicion that he might get a few games off the bench every now and then. So I kind of don't think loaning him out is the best option at the moment. And that is it so far on the 1st of February. Financially, we've got nearly £14 million to spend. It's a lot of money, but obviously we don't want to just spend the money because it's sat in our bank. Partially because we are building a new stadium. Yes, I have asked the board a few times, can they build us a brand new stadium? Which is ridiculous because this one was only built in 2017 and they've gone, yes. So they are currently trying to do some planning permission for a 23,000-seater stadium, which is obviously a fairly sizable increase. In fact, it's probably about a 50% increase on our current stadium. So that's going to be very good if and when that gets built. Obviously, this is season 9. We've got 1 more season after this in charge of Helsingborg. So chances are we're never going to be the manager of Helsingborg playing a match in that stadium, but we might play against them, which is, I guess, some form of, kind of a reward, maybe? So anyway, now that is out of the way, This is what we need to work out then in the next transfer window. Do we need to strengthen our squad? I feel like we probably do. Looking at the squad planner, we probably do need to look at bringing in some better options. I'm not even quite sure where. Defence midfield I think is good. I think the attacking midfield options are also pretty good. Maybe a striker. Probably need to bring in a new striker. Maybe we need a new right back. Maybe we need a new number 1 goalkeeper as well. So on the 29th of March, we have returned after the transfer window has closed. And you can see a new name there. There is a loaned player whose target is to score 35 league goals, which is an extortionate amount of league goals. Obviously, he's joined us on loan. I've not set that target. If he gets that target, we are going to be crowned champions. Champions of a league, by the way, that we did win last season. Before we go too far into talking about what transfers have taken place, the Champions League, we did get knocked out by Borussia Dortmund in literally the next matches. We also got knocked out of the Swedish Cup, which is not good. We should be looking to get to the final of the Swedish Cup. Obviously, we are defending champions. We're defending champions. We lost one match against Kalmar, the first match, by the way, of the group stage, and that just meant we weren't going through. If you lose a game in the Swedish Cup group stage, you may as well not bother playing the other two. And then, yeah, the Champions League, we did lose 2-1 and 1-0 against Borussia Dortmund, which is not great. But the fact that we managed to get out of the group stage, I will very much take that. Also, top goal scorer is Ramirez. It says for Porto. He's not top goal scorer for Porto because he was playing for us for most of that. 2 players have left on permanent deals then. Juan Davis is the first, the 24-year-old goalkeeper now from Equatorial Guinea with 16 caps to his name, has moved on to Trelleborgs. He's actually signed for Hammarby, but he's gone out on loan to Trelleborgs. We were never going to get any game time for him realistically. He's moved for just under £20,000. And another player to move on in the vain hope of getting some first-team football is Vratislav Zuzul, who was actually in my first team before we loaned in a new striker. And then I went, we don't need you. You've been brought up because we needed a striker to basically fill out the numbers. But I don't think he's ever going to make it for us. He's moved over to Varnamo for not a lot of money. £5,000, possibly going up to nearly £16,000. There's a hefty sell-on as well. He needs to get some game time. He's dropped down to the under-19, so I'm not really convinced that's going to happen yet. Joining the club then, in reverse order from the cheapest to the most expensive, Jake Gallagher, a 22-year-old English centre-back and striker with 1 finishing. Definitely not a striker, everybody. He is a centre-back. He has joined from Aston Villa, £400,000, possibly going a little bit higher, I believe. No, 300, going up to 400, which is basically what we've already paid. He's come in from Aston Villa. He's one kind of for the future. Lots and lots of potential here. 22, though, maybe should be getting some first-team football. I'd love to loan him out, maybe over the summer transfer window if we can. I didn't want to do it, but we needed to get somebody, and this was kind of the best option, and we did have to sign him, unfortunately, from a team in Sweden. It is Suleimanu Mbassi, 22-year-old Cameroonian international defensive midfielder. He has joined for £775,000. He's played a few seasons already in Sweden, which is good. Is he even possibly going to be part Swedish? He's got literally half a year before he becomes part Swedish, if he wants to. Not that it makes a difference. He's got caps for Cameroon. It doesn't really matter, does it? But for a 22-year-old of this quality, for that amount of money, that's a very good signing if you ask me. Now, this one we overpaid for, okay? He's cost £3 million. He's signed from Montreal. Victor Gomez, a 23-year-old Colombian, no international caps, but he's very, very good. I felt like we needed a new right winger. Victor Gomez, I think, is going to be good enough to play in that role. He has come in, like I said, from Montreal for £3 million. It's a lot, but that potential and that current ability kind of makes me think that we've maybe spent the money sensibly. We might not. But the main man of the transfer window isn't even the most expensive, and that is George Lai, 20-year-old Argentine striker loaned in from Benfica, formerly of Gimnasia LP over in Argentina, which is where he came from, for 4.9 million. We've paid 1.1. I think it's technically might be 1.3 million pounds. They've set him a target of 35 league goals, which is ridiculous. But I think he's good enough. He's arguably better than the players we lost last season, the players that we sold, and the players that came in on loan and left again. George Lai, I think, is going to be very, very important for us. I don't think he's going to stay any longer than 1 season, though. So that's our transfer business. We have also done a whole load of loan deals. Kobo has gone out on loan to Obreo. We've also loaned out Bar to Lindingo. That's definitely not their name, is it? We've who else have we got rid of? It is Thomas Kovic has gone out on loan. This could be useful for him because he needs some game time. And Wilmer Gomez as well. I said we brought him in. We might loan him out. We have loaned him out. He's gone to Vasslands for a season. Hopefully going to get a lot of game time there as well. So that's the start of the season. We're out of all cup competitions. We obviously will be having the Champions League later on in this season. Let's jump forward then to the midway point, roughly. see how well things have gone. I'd love to be near the top. Ideally, we want to be at the top of the table. And 14 games in, we are top of the table. 10 wins, 3 draws. Just the one defeat, which was against BK Hacken, who find themselves in second place, actually. So we are 3 points clear at the top of the table. George Lai needs to get 35 goals. So far, he's only got 11. I mean, 35 goals in a season of 30 games is probably a little bit optimistic. Who set that target? 25, maybe. I can kind of go, that might be achievable, but 35 is definitely too much. Something that's very interesting, we are straight into the Champions League phase. I don't know why. We're not high enough in the coefficients for us to be able to do that, but we have to go through no qualifying rounds. We get to skip all of this nonsense, and we go straight into the league. Which is genuinely a problem, because we normally pick up some decent coefficients when we go through the qualifying rounds, because we might be, I don't know, like a side from Turkey or Finland or something like that. But we just miss all of that. We skip completely past it. And I don't know why, because we're 11th, which means we don't get somebody directly into the league phase. Not in the Europa League, not in the Europa Conference League. So why do we do it? I don't know why this has happened. Unless it's this? Surely it's not this. This doesn't make sense, does it? So if I'm not mistaken, this is basically the 2 nations who have performed the best throughout European competitions will get an extra place. We've done all right, but we haven't done amazing. If we maybe won the Europa League, we'd be up there, but we were probably... I mean, we can probably find out, can't we? Because it will be coefficients sort by this season there. That's the one we've just had. So England and France would have picked it up. We were actually way, way down the list in, 13th place. So we should not have got somebody that way either. I don't know why we're straight into the league phase. It's annoying me. Anyway, I completely forgot to mention this, and I do this a lot, and I'm sorry, because there's a lot to kind of go through in some of these videos. Basically, these are the players that we've locked in for the start of the season. We are keeping in goal. I say keeping. We are forcing to play Nelson Gonzalez Martinez. Yollison, I don't think has got it anymore. Martinez is 24 years of age. He's the future, in theory, of our goalkeeping position, unless he leaves the club, which is obviously a possibility. So we're going to make sure Martinez gets a lot of football. We've got Bergman as our right back. He is being locked in. He didn't really get to play a huge amount last few seasons because of Usman, but now Usman has left. We have got Bergman, and he's going to be playing a lot of football, hopefully. But reading those names there, that's a worry for me. And the other one, which we don't really need to do, but we've locked in George Lai up front. Obviously, he's probably going to be playing there anyway, but I wanted to just make sure, just in case they go, oh, you know what, we'll play Mana, and then they'll put Lai on the wing or something stupid like that, or in defensive midfield, because sometimes they do that kind of thing. So we are in the middle of a transfer window. We've got £13 million to spend. We brought nobody in just yet. We haven't sold anybody either. Let's jump forward then to the end of the transfer window. I believe it will be just before the Champions League matches will be taking place as well. So we'll see what group or what matches we'll have to play in the group as well. I'd like some easy ones, would be good. 6 players have left the club on permanent deals, and we brought in a lot of new faces as well. Emil Engholm is the first one moving to Djurgårdens on a free transfer. It wasn't a free transfer, but it was basically a free transfer. For about £50,000, Peter Swan has moved over to Sirius. He's basically not really playing a huge amount for us. I think there's some potential there, but he needs game time, so moving him on is probably the best decision for his career. Richie Brennan has moved back to England, signing for Watford. He spent a few seasons playing for us, but actually didn't really play much at all. 19 games, league games, I believe, in total, for nearly £400,000. So we've kind of doubled our money. It would have been nice to see him do all right, but basically we just weren't getting the use out of him. For just over £1 million, João has moved back to Brazil, signing for Red Bull Brazil. I don't know what they're called. But yeah, we weren't playing him. 17 appearances he did get, but I think most of them were kind of spread out and off the bench and things like that. So he really wasn't really getting much game time, if any, at all. Possibly £1.1 million. There is sell-ons in there for this one, just in case he does get good. And the one that kind of frustrated me, but it was inevitable, is Matheus Valor. The Norwegian international defender has moved over to Juventus in Italy. He's gone for 3.8, possibly going a bit higher. There's also some sell-ons in there, so if he does get much better, we can kind of take some of that money back. We have made a small profit, but I think I would have rather kept him in the squad. They didn't want to loan him back to us either. They've got plans to play Valor in the first team. And the final player to leave is Iram. He is left on a part exchange deal going to AIK. We'll get to it in a minute, who he's come in or who he's swapped with, basically. Oh, I forgot. And a guy called John McIntosh has gone to Kelty Hearts in Scotland. He came for our youth intake. He's rubbish. For £1.4 million and Iram, we have signed Mans Cederschiöld might be his name. It's definitely not his name, is it? 24-year-old Swedish defender. He's been brought in because basically we need to get some more defenders in because we've sold a couple. And Cederschiöld, I believe, is probably going to be good enough. 1.4 million might be a little bit steep, but I think he's a good player. There's obviously still time to develop as well, only 24 years of age. In fact, he's 24 today. So when I kind of did all the deal for this, he was actually younger than 24. He was 23. And we've also brought in a whole bunch of players on free transfers of varying quality. Steve Russell is Swedish. Yep, you wouldn't believe it. 17 years of age, signed on a free transfer. He was released from FC Nordsjælland because he's also part Danish, and he's gone out on loan to Vassland. Hopefully one for the future. Lots and lots of potential. Also not terrible right now. Getting some game time at another club will be useful. Obinna Asuji is another player that we signed on a free transfer. Nigerian, signed formerly of FC Midtjylland. His contract expired, picked him up on a free. Once again, I'd love to loan this guy out, but nobody wanted him at the time. But for a free transfer, 17-year-old, I'm happy with this. Now, this one's technically not a free, but it kind of would have been a free. From Sparta Prague is Vlad Vojkan. He was out of contract at the end of the season, but we had to pay a little bit of compensation to bring him into the club. 21 years of age, Romanian international defender for less than £100,000. This is a bargain. Next up, we have signed Weston McKennie on a free transfer. The first of 3 established footballers that we have brought into the club. All of them on free transfers. The now 33-year-old American, 136 caps. He's come in. He's basically going to be a bit of a rotation. Ignore the fact that it says important player. He's probably not going to be. He's come off the bench 6 times so far. I think this is a good player to have in our squad. And I think another good player to have in our squad, because there was thought behind this, which we'll get to in a second. Marcos Leonardo, 28-year-old Brazilian striker, formerly of Benfica, scored 36 goals in 72 appearances over the course of 8 seasons, which is not great, is it? Let's be honest. But for a free transfer, for a player of this quality, this is good. Now, you're probably there going, but you've still got George Lai. You are right, but we won't have George Lai once we hit the end of our season, and we're still going to have 2 Champions League games to play at the start of next season with no established striker. Getting him in now and allowing him to rotate in and out of the starting 11 will be very good for us. And the final player to join is Lucas Bergvall, a Swedish international, signed from Tottenham. He was also on loan at Everton last season. He basically never played for Spurs at all. Brought him for £8.5 million and didn't really do much with him. And then we brought him in on a free transfer, and I am retraining him to be a left winger. Because basically, I don't want him as a defence midfielder, which is the other option that we've got. So we've forced him to play on that left wing position, which I think he should be able to do. He's a model citizen personality as well, which I know is very important for some people, not so much for me. Bergvall is a very good signing. And I guess as well, the thing with Bergvall is he's Swedish. We don't buy too many Swedish players, do we? What else have we got going on? A few loan deals. So Steve Russell, Jake Gallagher, Brahimi, anyone else? Bruno Mario Aspria has gone out on loan to Hammarby, which is, I think, probably a good bit of business. Willem Schwartz has gone on loan, as well as Jack Jones. I think Jack Jones went on loan. He's good. He's very good. I just can't get him into my squad because I keep replacing him with other players. So yeah, that was our summer window. A lot went on. We spent 8.25 million in total, but I think we've strengthened our squad. And looking at our tactics, this is what we are locking in. We are locking in 5 players for the rest of the season, which is probably too many. We are sticking with Gonzalo Martinez in goal, who's currently out injured with a broken hand, but it's fine. He's our number 1 goalkeeper. We've got Bergman as our right back, keeping his place. He's doing all right. 8 assists so far in the league. We are going to be playing Johan Mattsson, forcing him in playing in that central defensive role, because basically he wanted to play first team football and he wasn't. So we've gone, I kind of want to keep you around. You're very good, you're Swedish, you're young. Let's make sure you get some game time. Bergvall will be on that left-hand side, and Marcos Leonardo will be leading the line. We are locking in Leonardo because basically George Lai, yes, he's done all right. He scored 14 goals. It's not 35, though, that Benfica wanted. And I'd rather make our own players play well and score goals than improve somebody else's. And I genuinely don't think there is a huge amount of difference between Marcos Leonardo and George Lai. So this is probably stupid. Technically, George Lai is better. But I think this is wise. This is sensible. He's our own player. If he gets good and scores loads of goals, we can sell him for like £15 million. That's better than George Lai getting good and scoring us loads of goals and him just returning to Benfica on loan. And then let's jump over to the competition then. So in the Swedish Premier Division, we are currently 2nd place with a game in hand, but we are 5 points behind BK Häcken. Not ideal, but we are still within touching distance of a possible 2nd trophy. We are also, though, very close to Djurgårdens and Varnamo, who are flying up the table for some reason. I'm not sure why they're doing so well, but there we are. We are obviously in the Swedish Cup. We've beaten BK Olympic, which is a bunch of amateurs, I believe. And then in the Champions League, we can have a quick look. It's probably easier if we do this. Fixture-wise then, we have Midtjylland, Galatasaray, PSG, Man United, Fenerbahce, Ajax, and then at the start of Season 10, Leipzig and Barcelona. Let's be honest, 3 points, maybe 3 points, maybe 3 points, maybe a draw. Maybe a draw. I mean, I'm massively optimistic. Let's 3 points, draw. That's probably more likely what's going to happen, which is not good. We need to win some games. We need to get some easier sides in the Champions League. If we get easier sides, we get coefficients. Speaking of coefficients then, let's take a look how we are doing. So we are not going to do well at all, are we? Right now. So this is last season just gone, isn't it? Or is this... No, we're on this one. Okay, so we're 11th. Okay, it's not too bad. We're 11th. For a moment, I was going to sort by this and we're dropping down to 13th, which is not what we want to be happening at all. We're staying 11th. We need to have a good Champions League run because we're losing a 14.75. We need to do well in Europe. We need the other teams from Sweden to do well in Europe as well. Let's jump forward then to the end of the season and let's see how well things have gone. First of all, in the Swedish Premier Division, we have finished second place, 2 points behind BK Häcken. We have lost 6 matches, sorry, they lost 4 matches. We lost to Hammarby, Halmstads, BK Häcken, Djurgårdens, Landskrona and Häcken once again. So Häcken basically winning the league because they beat us twice. And that is pretty much all that happened there. That's frustrating because we didn't win back-to-back championships. But we're still up the right end of the table. We have qualified for the Champions League qualifying rounds for next season as well. And speaking of Champions League, we are currently sat 23rd place in the table. 2 wins, 1 draw and 3 defeats. We have lost against Man United, PSG and Galatasaray. We have drawn with Fenerbahce and we have beaten Ajax and FC Midtjylland. So I kind of predicted we beat Midtjylland. I also kind of predicted we beat Ajax as well. I also said we'd probably draw with Fenerbahce. I did think we'd probably draw with Galatasaray, but there we are. It's all right, isn't it? It's all right. We've got coefficients. 2 wins is good. A draw is good. We do still have, obviously, 2 more matches next season, which is Leipzig and Barcelona. Maybe we could beat Leipzig. Maybe we could beat Barcelona. I feel like we're not going to beat either of them, and we're probably getting knocked out in the group stage. Fully aware this video is getting very, very long, but taking a very quick look at some of the players. George Lai, did he manage to get his 35 goals? No, he got 15. Part of that was because I dropped him for the second half of the season, and the player that I dropped him for scored just 8. It might not have been the best decision, but we've done it, okay? Lucas Bergvall is unhappy because I think he wanted to play in defensive midfield or central midfield or something like that, and I've said no, we're not doing it. He's fully qualified now. Those are left winger. He's got 4 goals and 5 assists. Victor Gomez, one of our more expensive players that we managed to sign, actually broke double figures in both goals and assists, 10 and 11. But the standout player, someone I was not expecting. Alexander Petrov, the 23-year-old Bulgarian who we signed last season, scored 18 goals in all competitions, 11 assists. For a player that cost £2 million last year, he got 7 and 4 last year, 14 and 8 in the league this season, 20 goals in all competitions. That's ridiculous. How many goals? Lewis Hall always scores penalties. He scored 5 penalties, 6 penalties in fact. Okay, fair enough. He loves a penalty, doesn't he? We do have a lot of unhappy players. So Bergvall, we know, is unhappy. We've got Zumbarek, who wants to start more games. He's basically just been kicked out by Bergvall, which is fair enough. We've also got Weston McKennie, who wants to play a little bit more football. He came off the bench 13 times, which is quite a lot. How did Gonzalez Martinez do? He kept 8 clean sheets in all competitions. We need a goalkeeper. We need a good, solid goalkeeper. Maybe that's what we look out in Season 10. And we do have a fairly sizable transfer budget to do so. So £17 million. Season 10 will be our last season in charge of Helsingborg. Let's see whether we can win the title for a second time. And then we need to start looking for a brand new club to try and climb up the Swedish ladder. And hopefully challenge Helsingborg for a title. And also hopefully challenge the rest of Europe for some decent European competition as well.